Good morning, brethren. Welcome to another daily devotional. This morning, I want us to think about some words that we find in the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 3, and verses 31 and 32, where we read these words: Do not envy a violent man, or choose any of his ways, for the Lord detests a perverse man, but takes the upright into his confidence. Sadly, what is being described here is something that is very common in society today. Of course, it's not just common in society today, it's been common in society for generations. One of the ways in which man's sinful nature reveals itself is in directing violence towards others. We see this even from a very early age. We see it in the school playground, where children fight with each other for various reasons. We see it later on in societal life, when people are fighting with each other, particularly whenever they're under the influence of drink. We, of course, in our society here in Northern Ireland, have seen the actions of violent men over the course of 40 plus years of conflict in our province. And that violence, of course, revealed itself in all kinds of horrifying actions: murder, through shooting, through bombing. There were many who were attacked, many who were tortured. Man in his sin often expresses his sin in violence. We see it in the cartels, drug cartels. We see it in mafia. And the thing about this violence is that often those who are at the top of the pyramid of organised violence and organised crime often prosper as a result of it. They're the ones who, as a result of violence, have plenty of money, have large houses, drive the newest top of the range models of vehicles, go away and have holidays in far off places that ordinary people could never afford. And the danger, of course, is that such people can actually become an object of envy. Look at the way they live. Look what they have, much more than I have. This verse tells us, do not envy a violent man, or choose any of his ways. Regardless of the fact that some, maybe even many, of such violent people may prosper as far as material things goes, one thing is absolutely certain: they do not prosper in this life spiritually, and they most certainly will not prosper in the life that is to come. Why? Because the Lord detests a perverse man. Obviously, perverse man here is equivalent to violent man in the opening section of this passage. Someone who's perverse is someone who's twisted, completely out of shape. God sees them as corrupted and twisted people. They are sinful in God's eyes, and God detests them. He will ultimately bring them into judgment for all the sin that they have committed. Their acts of violence against other human beings will be brought before them on the day of judgment, and God will punish them. God will exercise his wrath against them, assuming, of course, that they do not hear the gospel and be saved. Do not envy a violent man, or choose any of his ways, for, here's the reason: the Lord detests a perverse man, but takes the upright into his confidence. In other words, he reveals to the upright what ultimately is going to be the end of the wicked. Perhaps you can take time and read Psalm 37, which is, if you like, a development of this theme, that whilst the wicked may prosper in this life, ultimately their day will come and God will judge them. And that's something that we having gone through the conflict that we have had in our own province, can take comfort and confidence in, especially if perhaps our families or people that we know have been the objects of the violent hatred and the violent actions of those who have sinned against us. Do not envy them. Don't choose their ways. The Lord detests them, and he takes the upright into his confidence by assuring them that one day they will get their just punishment. May the Lord help us to remember these things and be encouraged and comforted by them in the days ahead, and to watch and guard our own hearts, that we may not become violent in attitude nor in action towards anyone. May God bless you today.